Hi guys, so this is a topic today I want to talk about. It's very personal to me and I don't really speak much about it online. So it's my scoliosis. So scoliosis is a curvature to the spine and I want to talk about scoliosis in a way that is not medical. In a way that my spine is actually my compass. It navigates me and tells me what to do. Because looking back, how I used to look at my scoliosis was mostly physical, and I would do everything to try to fix it. And everything I did was very, how can I say, more physical and external rather than internal. So the first question I've got here is, can you tell us about your scoliosis and when did you find out and what was it like? So I was diagnosed with scoliosis by the age of 11. My dad noticed it when I was sitting. My posture was really bad and he took me to the doctors, like a general doctor, and they told me it was called scoliosis and they said I need to go and book in a consultant. We drove, I think, an hour away from where I lived, and then after that the consultant said that I need to go and see a specialist. So again, we drove to somewhere that was far away from where I live, an hour and a half, and they did all these x-rays and tested me, and yeah, it was really scary because at the age of 11 I really couldn't understand, and at this time where the internet wasn't accessible, and I lived in a very small town, I grew up there, and there was no library on what this could have been. And yeah, I ended up going to the hospital regularly to get x-rays, and I had this back brace that was made for me, and I had to wear this back brace 24/7, and the only time I took it off was actually bathing. They did say I can do some exercises and physical education, but my parents wouldn't allow that to happen, so I was stuck in this back brace for 2 years, and I was able to take it off in the morning and in the evening, where I did 10 minutes, 15 minutes of physiotherapy. They showed me some exercises and I followed the regime every single day for 2 years. And I got to the point where I was a little bit flexible, and this brace was like a corset. It was plastic, it came from here to my pubic bone, and it restricted me a lot. I had to pull the strings at the back and it just wasn't comfortable because it was pressing against my bone, and then the plastic was rubbing against my sitting bones. So I've got some scars from there. Yeah, so I actually didn't understand what was the point of this, but from my understanding now, it's about pressing the bones into structure. So you're basically forcing the bone to stay in place. Emotionally, I was really scared. Like really scared. I thought it was really serious, and the profession said that if it got worse, then I would have to have a back spine surgery. So this is why my parents were like, no, you're wearing this every single day, all day long. Yeah, it was really tough, especially going to school and wear these baggy clothes so no one would notice. And a lot of people didn't notice, apart from when I did physical education. And people were asking me, why can't you do PE? And I had to tell them, and I kind of felt like a victim. I felt like useless and wasn't able to do anything. I had my schoolmates saying, oh, I wish I was you so I can get out PE. But I really loved PE lessons. I was quite sporty and I enjoyed netball and I enjoyed playing hockey. And it was really sad when I couldn't do any of those stuff. It was normal for me for 2 years. It's just sometimes that I had people make fun of me, and that was the very intense point. Question 2, how did it affect you physically day to day? I didn't have any pain, but it was just restricting of bending forward and not being able to do physical education. And yeah, every day it was like putting a garment on. It felt very restrictive, physically and mentally. And there wasn't anything I can do. The only thing that I had to do was go to the hospital every 6 months to get an x-ray done. And that was humiliating. I felt so naked that people were just prodding me and it just didn't feel right. Question 3, when did you start to see a connection between physical and the emotion? After wearing the brace for 2 years and I stopped growing, I finally took off the brace, and I was at first a little bit scared that my body would start to shift, but it didn't. I carried on doing the exercises for another year, and then it wasn't until I got to university that I stopped doing the exercises. And I didn't realize there was a connection between the physical and the emotional until later. So I started to understand it, let's say 10 years later. Yeah, it must have been 10 years later, or maybe a little bit more. I started to understand when I first went to my first yoga class. I was just doing physical stuff. Between this 10 years, people were saying, do yoga, and I couldn't understand why, because I was like, this is boring. Yoga's boring. I don't know what to do with this. And I went to Bali one day, and I just bought a week pass just to do as many yoga classes for the physical sense. And I was so addicted to doing yoga, moving. And I made this bold choice to go to India and do my teacher training. And it was the best decision ever. I started to meditate, which again, I thought was really boring. But then I understood it was about stillness and the connection of doing the asanas. And from doing the asanas to understand what your mind does. If you are afraid, then your mind is telling you are afraid, and your body will follow that connection. This was the most profound thing I loved about yoga. And I still love yoga, and I'm still practicing, and I'm still teaching yin yoga, which is all about stillness. Because a lot of us, we want to be on the go. We are like, go, 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 and what? But when you go so fast, you miss the obvious. And this is what my mind was doing. It was like, just go and do it. And it wasn't grounded. It was all over the place. And this is when the anxiety was kicking in. Because obviously when you're anxious, your mind is like, whoo, 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 whoo. This is when I started seeing the connection between the physical and the emotion. When I was doing my yoga teacher training, what happened was that I started feeling little minuscule movements in my muscle. They were just in pain. It was little subtle shifts that was happening. And at this time, I was still confused, what was happening. I didn't put the emotion and the physical side together. This is actually one of the first time when someone told me that don't concentrate on the physical aspect. Don't chase healing, because the more you pick a scab, the more deeper and more hurt you will go, the more suffering. Now I'm starting to put the pieces together after looking at practicing kinesiology and understanding where the root cause is coming from. What was fascinating when I started working more with the trauma that I was going through, like having PTSD and anxiety. I was never diagnosed with any of these things, but these are big signs of panic attacks, anxiety, eczema all over my face, scoliosis. When I started working with kinesiologists and practicing kinesiology, I understood that all the traumas, all the emotions that I was going through started from the hardware, which is your brain. And once I understood that, my body started shifting. My spine has been clicking non-stop. And I feel like the tightness where I had mostly my lower back and my hamstring on my left side started to ease up, and the grinding of the teeth started to go. And of course, the eczema just cleared up completely. So this is when I understood how the mind and body are super connected. Question 4. What does the body do with things we don't process emotionally? For my understanding, that unexpressed emotion gets stuck in the body. Everyone has tight shoulders and neck. When these are stored in the body, these emotions, it could mean you have a knot, you have tension, and you can't breathe, you can't think properly because you're not breathing. And breath is the chi, is the energy. And if there's a blockage in energy, then your body is not flowing. If you are not processing a trauma, shoulders and neck usually mean letting go and carrying too much on your shoulders. And when you carry so much stuff on your shoulder, this happens. And then sometimes you get this knot that you had for 10 years or maybe more. And no matter what you do, like the physical stuff, go for a massage, do some dry needling or chiropractic, whatever you do, those things only shift temporary. They don't shift at all. They will be a release and then the pain comes back, sometimes 5 times greater. And sometimes when you have that emotion, you have like inflammation coming up. I work with many clients where they've had knotted shoulders for many years and their shoulders just up here. And after working with them, you start to see the shoulder goes down. And of course, it's not just going to be one session, but it is going to be several sessions because whatever you are holding there, that emotion, you haven't looked at it properly. When you start to become aware of what the emotion and what the trauma was, usually shoulders and neck is about value, is about worth, and about holding on too much, is about grief. And this usually happens with frozen shoulders. In TCM, we look at left right, so the right is masculine and your external world, and the left side is about your internal world and your feminine side. So yeah, you have your yin yang. If you guys have like a knot in the right shoulder, look at the external side or your masculine side or male relationships, and it's the opposite on the other side, the left side, which is your internal, emotional and female relationship and feminine side. Is scoliosis always emotional, or is that too simple? Well, scoliosis is very, very complex. It's not just physical. From my experience, what I experienced was that I had a lot of anxiety. And as a kinesiologist, we look at muscles, why the muscle is either in hypertonic or in hypotonic. So hyper is the tight muscle and the hypo is the relaxed muscle. So it's either your muscle is online or offline. What we look at is, certain muscles, especially if we're looking at the TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, or the energetic, where the meridian goes is different and different elements. You have the 5 elements in Chinese medicine, depending which practice you practice in. And what I have experienced personally is that mine was a lot of emotional, traumatic things that had happened in my life. And I know that once I work with them subconsciously, a lot of my muscles have released. Because in scoliosis, you have one side that is more tension and the other side is more looser, so it's weaker. And then you have the opposite in front. So say this is your back. You have your tight muscles, you have your weak muscles. The front, you have your weak muscles and you have your tight muscles. So there's sometimes a rotation and one muscle will be pulling and then the other muscle, not just one, there's several muscles that are there. I know mentally I am much better, especially with all the traumas that my subconscious had decided to hold on. Everyone is experienced, but I found that working with the nervous system, working with the emotional subconscious, that I know that my posture is much better and there's less tightness, there's less sciatic nerve issue. But they go hand to hand. Obviously, you need to work with the emotion so the cells of the muscle can release, and physically you need to strengthen and engage those muscles. In kinesiology, it's all about switching muscles on and off, like I said, hypertonic or hypotonic. And I do believe that majority of the cells are emotional, but they both deserve attention. It's not just a one way, and that's why I said it's very complicated to have scoliosis. What has your relationship with your body taught you that nothing else could? Okay. To be honest, I'm very grateful that I have scoliosis because it's taught me to understand how the mind and body connect together. It helped me understand myself, and this is the missing link where people just think it's physical, and it's not. Living with this curve has, yes, really helped me understand myself, be more confident with myself, helped me listen to my intuition, what is right, what is wrong, instead of depending on someone else's opinion. I can take someone else's opinion, but I know what's right and what's wrong with myself. Whenever I get sick, I know that, okay, I can take certain parts because my body knows what's right. It's about working with myself rather than against myself. Question 7. What would you say to someone who has scoliosis and never thought about it this way? I remember when I first got told I had scoliosis and I freaked out and I was like, there was something wrong with me. Because you go to help and you hear all these things like Dr. Google or ChatGPT and all of this, and the searching for answers. And I would say, fuck the system, because you are in control of your body. So, like this guy who told me, don't go chasing for fixtures, because at the end of the day, you have the innate self to understand yourself. And sometimes when you listen to someone else's opinion, it can make your nervous system go in that fight-flight mode. And I remember I was so scared. I was so scared that I didn't sleep that night when they told me I had something wrong with me. There is nothing wrong with me. You're completely perfect and this is the way it's supposed to be. But the thing is that about scoliosis, like how I have interpreted it, it was a lot of emotion. So I was carrying a lot of suffering, and your body and your mind will start to react together. If you think you're suffering, if you think there's something wrong with you, then your body will start to react. When you look at the actual subconscious trauma and actually acknowledge it instead of pushing it down and suppressing it by wearing back braces, and there's nothing wrong wearing back braces. I mean, it helped me to sustain, but I didn't have an understanding of what this was. It was basically my nervous system telling me that you are in survival mode. I was in survival mode, and there's no blaming yourself. There's nothing wrong with you. Your body is just trying to express itself. Your body is an expression. So instead of being fearful, look at the reason, what you're feeling inside. I couldn't express my emotions at all. I guess that this journey for me had influenced me to help myself first before helping someone else. And until you help yourself, it's not going to go away. It's there. It's showing you. Your body is showing you what you need to work on, what things you need to release, things about yourself. It's like a mirror. It's showing you the path. It's showing you the key to where you need to be, what you need to do with yourself. I've always felt I wasn't good enough. And when I felt I wasn't good enough, I always stopped myself to do the things that I wanted to do. And when you work with scoliosis, it's about movement. I felt I was lazy. I had a lot of anger in myself, and I had to look at the anger, why I was angry, what was triggering me, because your body speaks more than what your thoughts are. People say, listen to your heart, and I didn't listen to my heart. I didn't listen to my gut. This is the advice I would give. Not just work on the physical, also work with the emotional, and also work with the breath. The breath is super important. The breath is what keeps us breathing, living this life. Question 8. Where can people go to explore this kind of work? At the moment, I am giving a 7 days free challenge of clearing your limited belief system. And this is just to answer some questions every day for 7 days to understand where these issues are coming from. And it could be a physical pain, it could be a emotional suffering. I'll give you some examples. Sometimes you can shift your pain through your thoughts and understand where that is coming from. And in emotional, it could be something like, I am not good enough. That's another one I gave before. I am not lovable. Somewhere in your lifeline, there is a trauma or an emotion or a suffering that had happened. So what your mind, your subconscious has done is basically run itself on a program. So let's say I'm going to give myself an example, that you were bullied, and when that person bullied you, that you felt you weren't good enough. So you felt very small. Now, in my adult life, as time came on, I just kept thinking, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. And all the things, I had these opportunities to shine, but because I thought there would be judgment, people would start to laugh at me. People will say, you are stupid. So from here, when you start to acknowledge, I am not stupid, I am able to move on, I am smart. So going back to these timelines, you basically say you're not good enough and people will start to judge you. You can't get the promotion. You can't get any of these things because you are not good enough. You're not smart. So these programs will keep running until you look at that moment. That's certainly the moment where someone told you this, and tap into the emotions, the felt sense in the body, and release that emotion. So this is what my one-to-one sessions are like of Break the Loop online. If you are ready for this, I will put the link in the description. And if you like this video, please subscribe. If you have any questions about how the conscious and subconscious mind works, or if you guys do have scoliosis, you have any questions to ask me and how I work with myself, feel free to comment. I'll be happy to answer you guys. But anyhow, thank you so much for watching this video. Much love. Bye.